somewhere comfortable. There is nothing here that needs your full attention. You don't need to remember any of this. And you don't need to follow along carefully. Just let the words come to you, the way sound travels through still water, gently, without asking anything in return. Tonight, we are going somewhere very quiet, somewhere that has never known daylight, a place where the world above, its noise, its weather, its turning from day to night, simply does not exist. A place that has been still for longer than we can quite hold in our minds. We are going underground, into caves, not to explore them, not to map them, just to drift through them, softly, and to notice what lives there. Because something does live there, quietly, patiently. In the deep dark, there is life, ancient, slow, unhurried life. You don't need to do anything with that. Just let it arrive. We're in no hurry tonight. There is a concept, quietly held among biologists who study the deep places of the earth, called Troglobitism. It is not an urgent word. It does not need to be said quickly. Troglobitism simply refers to the condition of living one's entire life inside a cave, not visiting, not sheltering, living, fully, permanently, in the dark. It is said that there are thousands of species on this earth that have adapted over vast stretches of time to exist only in that darkness. Fish with no eyes, spiders the color of bone, beetles that have slowly, generation by generation, let go of every feature that the light once made necessary. Let that settle. The cave is not a refuge for these creatures, not a temporary shelter from something harder outside. It is simply home. The only home their ancestors have known for millions of years. And the darkness, which might seem like an absence, a lack of something, has instead become a kind of gift, a pressure that slowly, gently reshapes life into something extraordinary. Think about what an eye is for. It gathers light. It translates the movement of photons into information about the world. Where food is, where danger comes from, where the edges of things are. An eye is an expensive thing to grow and to maintain. It requires resources, attention from the body, careful biological investment. in a place with no light at all. An eye is useless. And so, slowly, over thousands and thousands of generations, the eyes of cave-dwelling creatures fade. Not all at once. Gradually, a little smaller in one generation, a little less developed in the next, covered eventually by a thin layer of skin, and then gone, or nearly so. The body, patient and practical, stops spending what it no longer needs. This is not loss exactly, or at least, it does not need to be thought of that way. What happens in the darkness of a cave is a kind of deep, slow redistribution. The energy that once went to vision is quietly moved elsewhere. The senses that remain, touch, the ability to detect vibrations in water, the sensitivity of antennae and whiskers, and fine hairs on the body. These grow more refined, more capable, more exquisitely attuned to a world that is measured not in light, but in pressure and texture and chemical trace. Just the sound of the words. There is a small fish found in the caves of Mexico and the southern United States called the Mexican tetra. What makes it gentle and interesting is that it exists in two forms. In rivers with normal light, it is a perfectly ordinary-looking silver fish with fully developed eyes. But in the caves, the same species, the same fish, it is pale as milk, its eyes covered, its lateral line, the sensory organ that detects movement in water, grown extraordinarily sensitive. The two forms can still reproduce with one another. They are not yet separate species. They are one creature at two different points in a long, unhurried conversation with darkness. Scientists have studied these fish for years, not to understand the cave fish alone, but because they offer a rare, still-living window into how evolution moves. How slowly, how gently, how without any visible intention. The cave fish did not decide to lose its eyes. It simply drifted, over deep time, into a shape more fitted to where it found itself. There is something quietly reassuring in that. Breathe. The creatures that live in caves are called by different names depending on how committed they are to the dark. Some are troglophiles, cave lovers, creatures that can live underground but are equally at home in the world above. Crickets, certain salamanders, some spiders. They drift in and out, carrying a kind of dual citizenship between the lit world and the dark one. Then there are the Troglobites, the permanent ones, the creatures for whom the surface world is not a memory, not even a distant possibility. They are built entirely for this. Their whole physiology shaped by millions of years of cave living. They tend to be pale or almost translucent. There is no need for pigment when there is no sunlight to protect against. They tend to move slowly, preserving energy in an environment where food is scarce, and metabolisms must be patient. Some cave fish and salamanders can live for decades without eating, their bodies running on an extraordinarily slow internal clock. You may have drifted. That's fine. There is a creature called the Ol-M, sometimes called the human fish, found in the underground waters of caves beneath the Dinaric Alps in southern Europe. It has been known to Europeans since at least the 17th century, when it would sometimes appear at cave entrances after heavy rains, washed up from the deep aquifers below. People who found it then did not know what it was. A pale, slender, almost limbless thing with a featureless face, slow-moving, as if barely troubled by the existence of a world around it. It was sometimes described as a baby dragon, a strange emissary from somewhere below. The Olm can live, it is believed, for over 100 years. It can go without food for up to 10 years. Its metabolism slowed to a kind of waking stillness that barely resembles the pace of surface-dwelling life. It moves through its underground waters with extraordinary gentleness. Its eyes are present, but functionless, covered by a thin layer of skin. It navigates by detecting electrical fields in the water, by smell, by the faint vibrations of distant movement. It is patient in a way that is difficult for us to hold in mind. 100 years in the dark, 10 years between meals, a life measured not in days and seasons, since there are none below ground, but in some other, quieter rhythm entirely. There is no rush. Caves themselves are interesting environments to consider. In the deep cave, away from any entrance, the temperature is constant. Not warm, exactly. Typically around 10 or 12 degrees Celsius in many of the world's caves, but unchanging. There are no seasons here, no night and day, no warmth of summer bleeding through the rock, no cold of winter following behind. The cave holds one steady, ancient temperature, month after month, after year, century after century. For creatures with no means of generating their own body heat, this constancy is everything. It removes a whole category of challenge that surface life must constantly manage. The deep cave does not ask its inhabitants to adapt to cold winters or hot summers. It asks only that they find food in the dark, that they navigate without light, that they slow themselves to the pace of a world where resources arrive rarely and must be used with exquisite care. Cave ecosystems run on very little. On the surface, almost all life ultimately traces back to sunlight. Plants capture it. Animals eat the plants or eat the animals that ate the plants. But in the cave, there is no sunlight. The energy must come from somewhere else. Some of it drifts in from above. Organic material washed in by rainwater. Insects that fall into cave entrances. Bat guano. And bats, of course, are among the great connectors of the cave world and the surface. Creatures who spend their days hanging in the dark and their nights hunting in the open air, returning before dawn to deposit the energy of the outside world in the form of waste, which feeds the cave's other inhabitants. Some cave ecosystems sleep well